They could be BJC Healthcare difference makers today. Joey Votto, John Jay, those two have had good success against our starters.
And they're both off to good starts this season. Joey Votto with the 2 home runs yesterday. But how about the 3 lifetime home runs for John Jay against Cueto? A bit of a surprise there.
Look at Mike Matheny's lineup here this afternoon. Leading things off as always, Matt Carpenter, followed by Jason Hayward and Matt Holliday. Matt Adams off to a rough start so far. Johnny Peralta, John Jay, Yadier Molina. He's also off to a tough start. Colton Wong, and the pitcher batting ninth, Michael Wacha. Johnny Cueto making the start today for Cincinnati.
20-9 a year ago. His first start of the season, he got a no decision, but he had 10 punch-outs against the Pittsburgh Pirates in those 7 innings of work. Cueto, one of the National League's best. Last year, an all-star for the first time, but certainly not the last time.
The Hyundai pitch arsenal for Cueto.
Good fastball. He throws mid-90s, but his changeup is the real difference pitch for him. He throws it 15% of the time. Also has a slider that he tries not to get beat with, but the changeup and fastball really what he uses a majority of the time.
Johnny Cueto coming off a historic season last year in Reds history. And the first pitch to Carpenter is a strike. Only 5 Reds have had 20 or more wins and a sub 2.25 ERA. The last to do it prior to Cueto a year ago was in 1923 as he finished second in the Cy Young Award. Ground ball hit to first, taken there by Joey Votto. 1 down. And that's how we start this afternoon game from Cincinnati. Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's defense behind Johnny Cueto with Marlon Byrd in left, Billy Hamilton, the speedster, in center, Jay Bruce in right. Frazier, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto along the infield, and Devin Mesoraco is behind the plate.
Cueto will give you a variety of deliveries. He had a real quick delivery on that last pitch to Matt Carpenter. He'll turn more on certain deliveries than others, and a little bit like Adam Wainwright in the way he changes speeds a bit by the way he delivers the ball to the plate. Not just the velocity of the ball, but what he does with his windup.
Jason Hayward, the 25-year-old, will not turn 26 until August 9th. And Joe West pops out from behind home plate and said, wait a minute, he had time. And that's something that Cueto did in his first start, Rick. He quick pitched a lot of the hitters of the Pittsburgh Pirates. One ball, one strike. Hayward is 4 for 9 to start this season, all 4 hits. And it's a promising start. All 4 of those hits have been against left-handers.
Did not hit lefties well a year ago, but the good start against Leicester on opening day, had a couple of good at-bats yesterday, and one of them was against Parra.
2-2 the count.
If anything, Cueto gets you thinking about, is he going to go quickly? Is he going to go slow? Is he going to turn? And when he turns, is he going to throw his changeup? So you can expect a variety of deliveries from Cueto, and I think that's a big advantage as long as you can command the pitch when you do that in your motion, as Wainwright does.
Now time is called. The 3-2 pitch. Hayward. Oh, what a play here by Brandon Phillips. Robbed by the former Gold Glover. Outstanding play. Brandon Phillips at second base.
They're shading Hayward to hit to the right side. Phillips playing him to pull, but he shows range to his right. Always very acrobatic defensively. Yesterday was not his best defensive game, but good start for him here this afternoon.
And now it's Holliday. We say it wasn't his best defensive game, but yet the key play in the game was a bouncer that Hayward hit up the middle that took a hit and potential RBI away.
He and Zach Cozart made a terrific play, and that was a key time, but there were a couple of balls where he was a little slow to get to. One where he broke the wrong way as if he didn't see the ball very well. Uncharacteristic. He is just a slick defender.
1-2 on Holiday, who's hitting .364. No home runs, 2 RBIs. Missouri Lottery Foxtracks swinging through the fastball.
So when you quick pitch the way Cueto has done here a couple of times to Holiday, he did it to Carpenter, he did it to Hayward. I would say if you're throwing 91 miles an hour, it's going to look more like 93 or 94, because timing-wise in your head as a hitter, you're not expecting to have to swing, and all of a sudden he rushes it up on you as he does there. And again, you're going to change speeds from that delivery. As long as he shows he can throw his slider from that as well as the changeup, I just think that's going to be tough for major league hitters to contend with.
So the question is, why don't more pitchers do that?
I don't think many pitchers can command the ball when they do throw from different deliveries. Talk about Trevor Rosenthal for the Cardinals. They're trying to simplify his delivery so he can command better. Well, here's a guy that's making his delivery more complex.
The strikeout of Holiday. First strikeout for Johnny Cueto. Michael Wacha in his season debut when we come back. That he'll face this afternoon. Hamilton, the switch hitter at the top of the lineup. Then Votto, Frazier, Mesoraco, Bruce, Bird, Phillips, Cozart, and Cueto. Last season, Wacha injury-riddled year because of the shoulder issues he dealt with. He went 5-6. When healthy, he could be one of the best in the game.
And he was healthy 2 years ago and pitched so well in October for the Cardinals. In fact, 4 postseason wins for Michael Wacha. He has 9 regular season wins and 4 postseason wins. And he's a guy that is, I think, found his changeup again. That's going to be an important pitch for Wacha today. A year ago, coming back from that injury, working on the curveball, I think the changeup went away for a bit.
The Hyundai pitch arsenal for Michael Wacha a year ago.
More curveballs, almost 13%. The changeup again is probably his best pitch, and the fastball low to mid 90s.
So here's Billy Hamilton, who's 7 for 7 in stolen bases. In the first 4 games of the Reds' 2015 campaign. Peralta to his left, and the stretch by Adams. Hamilton still made that close. Cardinals defense presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Holiday, Jay, and Hayward in the outfield. Yadier Molina behind the plate. Carpenter at third. Peralta, just saw him moving to his left at short. Wong and Adams on the right side. And here's Joey Votto. Joey Votto, the last 3 years combined against the Cardinals, had hit 2 home runs. He hit 2 last night in 1 game. Nothing in 2 the count.
That's the good changeup from Wacha, 86, 87 miles an hour, and it's very difficult to pick up. He's got a great delivery with it, especially with the sound shoulder now, and I think Votto, who normally sees the ball really well, was very fooled by that last delivery. But he's a good 2-strike hitter.
The 0-2 pitch to Votto. Spoiled. Last night, case in point of why many around the game, and certainly many around here in Cincinnati, want to see him expand his zone and try to drive the ball. It was a difference maker in the game. Votto says he will not change. And interesting to see with 2 strikes, rarely, if ever, do you see it anymore, a player choke up. Liner, Peralta, 2 down.
I admire the fact that Votto has that 2-strike approach and just tries to spoil pitches and won't be afraid to work a walk. But If I've got Votto on my team, I want damage in the first couple of pitches. And you can kind of be both. And I think some players get caught in between. I think Jason Hayward with the Braves was forced to be caught in between. Is he a deep count guy or a power guy? But I think a guy like Votto has the potential to be both.
Pitch taken high by Todd Frazier. Mike Matheny talking before the game about Walker's improving curveball, and how that really is arguably the biggest pitch for him. I mean, everybody talks about a good fastball, at times upper 90s, the outstanding changeup, but to mix in a very good curveball. That first pitch to Frazier looked to be good. Walker was frustrated. It was called a ball, and he falls behind 3-0.
I think that's his next level, especially the curveball against right-handed batters. That's going to be more of a neutralizing pitch. It's a pitch that goes down and away from a right-hander.
Frazier drives it out to left, and it's gone. 1-0 Cincinnati. They turn him loose on 3-0. With Cueto on the mound, you never know. That might be all he needs. Third home run for Frazier, now up to 6 RBIs. Here's Mesoraco. Hitting .063 in this first week. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Dan, this is a perfect example as we look at the 3-0 pitch right down central. They let him loose, pays dividends. Perfect example of how situational everything is in baseball. You could say, well, what be great if he got a walk there and got on base percentage. Well, 3-0 against a guy like Waka. Try to press that advantage when you've got a pitcher like Cueto who's going to be stingy with runs. So you mix all that together, and it's not kind of simple formula. It's got a lot of factors to it, and it certainly paid off for Cincinnati there.
1-2 the count. Michael Waka will not turn 24 until July 1st. Only 23. Fought off and into the seats. 19th overall pick in 2012. MVP of the National League Championship Series in 2013. Velocity here in the first inning has been really good. And to me, that's one of the keys in knowing whether or not he's healthy. When his velocity was up last year, he was dominating at times. First 15 games for Waka, to put it in perspective, a 2.79 ERA. Opponents hit .222. That's when his velocity was consistently 95 to 97. That swung on and missed in his first strikeout. But on a 3-0 pitch, the All-Star who knocked out 29 a year ago picks up his third in 2015. Todd Frazier. 1-0 Cincinnati. One ball, 1 strike on Matt Adams. Johnny Cueto a 1-2-3 first with a strikeout. Adams to left. Bird over. Diving catch, Marlon Bird.
Nice play by Bird. Jammed a bit is Matt Adams. It always has kind of been a truth about the game of baseball that the defense just always seems to be ramped up a bit when you've got your best pitcher on the mound. Not sure 100% why that is. I think everybody's just a little sharper, and you understand you've got the best guy who requires you to be at the best as far as defending is concerned. But I think back to some of the great pitchers, and the way they had good defense behind him. You think of Dow Maxville and the great plays that he made behind Bob Gibson for years.
Peralta at the plate. A couple of hits last night, including a first inning 2-out double to score a run. 1-2 the count on the Cardinals shortstop. It's sharply to third, off the glove of Frazier. And the Cardinals have their first base runner of the afternoon.
And then sometimes you make an error behind your best pitcher.
Right on cue, huh?
Exactly.
Toyota, keys to the game. What do you have for us?
Well, there's three things that are important to me. One is to try to stop the momentum of the Cincinnati Reds. They've had the 4 late wins. They pulled it out in the 8th inning or 9th inning, 4 straight games here at home. And to try to get a high pitch count for Johnny Cueto. Cueto, very stingy as far as runs are concerned. Try to get him out after 7. And you like velocity of Waka. I like changeup. I think that's his bellwether pitch. If his changeup is good, he'll be good.
And as good as Johnny Cueto has been in his career, John Jay has hit him remarkably well. 12 for 25 with 3 home runs. The best numbers of any Cardinal against this right-hander. Short lead at first. And Jay is hit by the pitch. John was hit the most times last year of any Cardinal.
Well, here's the error right off the end of the glove. What a great shot that is. As Frazier can't come up with it, then the hit by pitch off the front knee of John Jay, and all of a sudden the Cardinals got a little mini rally going. The Cardinals have only scored 7 runs, Dan, in the first 3 games.
Molina serves it into right. That's a base hit. And the bases will be loaded. Yadier Molina, his first hit of this season, a base hit into right, and it brings in Colton Wong. Boy, did Molina need that.
Peralta not sure if that ball was going to carry all the way to Jay Bruce, but the way Bruce throws in right, he wouldn't have tried to score anyway. We have 2 very strong armed outfielders here at Great American Ballpark today.
Here's Colton Wong. Bases loaded. 1-0 Cincinnati here in the top of the second. Nearly hit Wong with that pitch up and in. Todd Frazier, even with the bag at third, way off the line. Votto is back a good 4 or 5 steps at first base. One ball, 1 strike on Colton Wong. You just wonder if last year's postseason carries over to this year for Colton Wong. The walk-off in Game 2 of the National League Championship Series against Sergio Romo. Think about the exclusive company that Colton Wong is in terms of postseason Cardinals walk-off homers. Ozzie Smith, the go crazy home run. Jim Edmonds to save a series in 2004 against Houston. David Freese in 2011 and Colton Wong.
Well, those first 3 are huge moments, aren't they?
Man.
That's nice company.
The 2-1 is a fly ball lifted out to right. Plenty deep. Bruce with the catch. 2 runners will tag up. This game is tied as Colton Wong delivers for St. Louis, and it's 1-1.
It's a nice at-bat by Colton Wong. They were trying to work him up in the zone. Every pitch was up. This one middle in, and he was able to stay on top of that enough to drive it into the outfield. That's a great at-bat for Colton Wong.
So the air, then a hit by pitch, single by Molina. And a sac fly for Colton Wong, his first RBI. And it brings in Michael Wacha with runners at the corners and 2 down. Strike 1. Last year it was Clayton Kershaw who won the Cy Young Award, then Johnny Cueto, third Adam Wainwright. And a ground ball that's hit to short, and a flip to Phillips. Cardinals get on the board. They've tied it up. Colton Wong with his first RBI. 1-1 midway through 2.
Yeah, I don't think there's a happier guy in the ballpark to be in uniform than Ed Easley. He was called up from Memphis to fill in for Tony Cruz, who's on paternity leave. And Easley is no kid. He's 29 years old. Last night was his very first major league game. He was originally drafted by the D-backs in 2007, signed with the Cardinals as a minor league free agent in 2013. He said getting to the majors was a dream come true, and the emotions really kicked in last night during the national anthem. He's got about a dozen family members at the ballpark, wife, parents, grandparents. He said the funny thing about it is because he's been with the big league club during spring training the last couple of seasons, he's a familiar face. So his teammates last night didn't realize that was his first game as a big leaguer. A nice story.
Jay Bruce with a fly ball into center. So he's in the midst of his 9th professional season and finally gets the call up to the big leagues. He's with Memphis, and that's where he was born and raised. So he's back in his hometown, which also makes it a nice, easy transition coming from the Diamondbacks to the Cardinals organization.
And I love what he said and what Jim reported about how the national anthem was kind of a fulcrum of the emotions, and I can relate to that. There's something about on opening day, for no matter how many years you play, the national anthem standing out there, there's something very, very charged up about that, emotional. It takes you back, and just terrific to see him finally getting a chance to be a big leaguer.
Marlon Byrd flies out to center, and it brings in Brandon Phillips. I was telling you I had a conversation with Brandon before the game, and he said, St. Louis, best baseball town in the league. This is coming from a guy that gets booed, and I mean booed loudly every time he steps to the plate. And that's in St. Louis. And a ground ball that's hit to third, and a quick inning for Michael Wacha. Tag is applied by Adams. The quick call there by Kerwin Denley. 1-2-3 go the Cincinnati Reds. We're tied up 1-1 in Cincy. Of the St. Louis Cardinals. And play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Enter promo code CARDS for free entry. Broken bat. Center field. Hamilton. He dives. And he got it. That's 3 diving plays behind Johnny Cueto here this afternoon. And through all the hype of Hamilton and stolen bases, he was second in the Gold Glove for outfielders last year.
And he's going to win some Gold Gloves before it's over. He's got good range defensively, very, very good arm, and an accurate arm. Very much so an underrated part of his game.
A former infielder and shortstop, so a strong arm. And now it's Jason Hayward. Hayward was robbed by Brandon Phillips first time up.
Dan, there's still some kinks in the speed-up rule that Major League Baseball has implemented for 2015. I think those rules are still good, trying to get the pace of play a little bit faster, but the first pitch of that inning was thrown with 53 seconds on the clock when it's supposed to be between 20 and 0. So basically a half minute early, and MLB has got some work to do in trying to make sure that they control and watch that clock and pay a little more attention to it.
Out to right. Bruce makes the catch. Watch every out-of-market game live in high definition with MLB.TV Premium. #1 live streaming sports service. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout and other restrictions may apply. All you have to do is visit MLB.TV. So the pitchers have to throw their final warm-up toss before 30 seconds remaining. Batter must be in the box from 20 to 5 seconds remaining.
Clock starts now.
Holiday grounds out. They put 2:25 on the clock. Tick, tick, tick. Down to 30 seconds. So now we can begin, and the batter must be in the batter's box. And in this case, it's Zach Cozart. He is. Another aspect of this is the batters stepping out of the batter's box. Right now, Zach Cozart technically not supposed to. He didn't. And some of the players, by the way, have already received letters from Major League Baseball, and those fines will start being issued in the next week or two.
And you can put one foot out of the box, but not both. So you can kind of step away from the plate, kind of open up a little bit, but you have to dig back in again and be ready. And you've got a couple of pitchers today that like to work quickly. And I think that's going to work to the advantage of a pitcher that prefers the quick pace and kind of delivering the ball in a fast manner. It's going to work better with their overall pacing.
Base hit by Zach Cozart. The second hit allowed by Michael Walkup.
You and I talked yesterday. Seth Maness may have some 25-second innings as quickly as he likes to work.
Incredibly fast. So Adams will hold the runner at first. Johnny Cueto at the plate. Matt Carpenter way in on the grass down at third. Outfield is very shallow. Carpenter charging hard. And Cueto bunting it up the first base line. Waka applies the tag. And Cozart to second base. It's a good bunt there by Johnny Cueto, knowing that Carpenter is charging hard to try to get potentially the lead man. Home opener will be on Monday in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. And we'll have the coverage for you beginning at 1:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. Here's Hamilton, who grounded out to short his first time up. He bunts. Waka makes the play. Billy Hamilton was third in the major leagues last year in bunt hits. And Cozart advances to third. Now two down, and it brings in Votto.
Not a big fan of bunting with a runner at second base with one out. You've got two shots to drive in Cozart with a base hit if you're Hamilton, and then Votto to follow. If you're bunting, and even if you're successful, to me you've advanced the runner one base, but you've got two shots at an RBI. And by bunting, you are not taking one of those two shots at the RBI. Even though, of course, he does run well and it's in his arsenal.
Votto, high fly ball, right center. John Jay with room in front of the track. Reds strand a runner, their first of the afternoon. We played three, tied up. It's 1-1. See that man on it, the great Lou Brock. We'll see him on Monday. The Hall of Famer, 938 stolen bases. Part of the all-century team, Lou Brock. And you can vote at MLB.com right now. As Matt Adams will dig in. We'll show you highlights from the 8 remaining finalists as Adams hits it down the right field line. This may go, and his first hit of the season, a home run. Matt Adams puts the Cardinals on top. It's 2-1. Adams hit .375 last season against the Reds. This is one team that he does torment, and he picks up his first hit of the season with a home run down the right field line.
Oh, that's got to feel good for Matt Adams to get that first hit of the season, and it's a big one off of Cueto. Both these pitchers so far with low pitch counts, they've been working quickly, but they've been getting quick outs, and Matt Adams early in the count just jumped on that pitch.
What's interesting about Johnny Cueto, the 12 seasons of the Great American Ballpark, which is home run friendly, hitter friendly, offense friendly, only twice has a pitcher thrown 150 innings with an ERA of under 3 at this ballpark. Twice. By the way, both times Johnny Cueto. Last year, 22 home runs allowed, 20 of the 22 solo home runs. The check swing, and Peralta did go. Second strikeout for Johnny Cueto.
So another one of those solo shots is delivered by Matt Adams. Hands inside the ball. Head on the ball. Perfect spot of the bat. Right in the sweet spot. Pulls it right down the line. It's only 325 down the line here.
That home run measured at 355 feet. As John Jay comes to the dish for the second time today. Cardinals on top, their first lead, 2-1. By the way, April 20th, Lou Brock, part of our speaker series at the ballpark. We've got Lou and Red together that night, April 20th. Those have been just tremendous evenings that we've had. Tony La Russa, Bob Gibson, but we've got Red and Lou together. You'll be down on the track for d'oeuvres and drinks, then come up for dinner in the Redbird Club. Chance to get a picture with the 67 World Series trophy. And everybody walks away with a Red and Lou autographed baseball. And those two will be part of a 90-minute Q&A. Just go to cardinals.com/events.
Every time you're around both of those guys, you just marvel at the fact that they remember details of their career and the stories of the Cardinals teams from the 60s, the winning teams of the 60s. And Red, certainly a big part of that, and so was Lou. And it's just so much fun for me to be around them, retelling those stories and, again, remembering the details in such a vivid way.
April 20th, it's an off night for the Cardinals, a Monday night. So we'll be at the ballpark and have our speaker series, and it should be a lot of fun. Cardinals.com/events. 1-2 the count on John Jay. And Jay hits a fly ball into right. There's Jay Bruce. The speaker series, so much fun because of the Hall of Famers that we have in the history of the Cardinals organization. Look at Lou Brock and what he was able to accomplish. 1985, went into the Hall of Fame. Brock for Brolio, one of the great deals that baseball has ever seen, at least on one side. Molina pops it up. Cueto giving chase, called off by Votto in foul territory, and he makes the catch. Matt Adams came in to this at bat in the fourth inning, 0 for his first 10. Changed that in a big way. Cardinals on top. It's 2-1. 8 gallons or more now until September 24th, and receive up to 50% off on a pair of tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. Here's Todd Frazier, who homered on a 3-0 pitch, first time up. Base hit into left. Last 2 innings combined, a total of 11 pitches from Michael Wacha. In the second, a 4-pitch inning, and in the third, 7 pitches.
Well, the hitting philosophy for both teams so far this afternoon is jump on the first pitch you see. Cardinals are doing it, and the Reds are doing it. They understand that both Cueto and Wacha have ways to carve you up if they get ahead, so they're just looking for that first fastball they can handle, and that's why the pitch counts are so low.
Here's Devin Mesoraco. Popped up again on the first pitch. And that'll find the seats out of play. Big crowd here at the Great American Ballpark.
So not only is he swinging, but he's actually chasing a pitch that's out of the zone. But he saw fastball and, again, doesn't want to get to that 2-strike changeup down and away that can be so tough for Michael.
Double play ball. Out at second. Tough turn for Wong. The feed wasn't quite where he wanted it, and it looked like the ball may have handcuffed Peralta just a bit, to where then it goes into the palm of the throwing hand. So tough exchange for Colton Wong.
Throw a little bit on the outfield side of second base, so Wong unsure whether to come through the bag, go straight up, or back away from the bag in terms of how he did his turn. And I think he got kind of caught in between, but that ball wasn't hit very hard in the first place by Mesoraco, and he does run fairly well for a catcher.
Jay Bruce Bruce is 0 for 14 in his career against Michael Wacha. 12th overall pick back in 2005 out of Beaumont, Texas. And Rick, it's 7 years in the league for Jay Bruce, and he's only 27.
And big numbers for Jay Bruce.
You
not,
bet.
Not last year. Talked about his kind of inability to adjust to the shift. That may have bothered him some, but he also has had trouble with his back knee, his left knee. And the sense was that he didn't have the good foundation to swing properly.
Runner goes, and a stolen base for Mesoraco. May have surprised the Cardinals a little bit.
You don't very often see a throw like that from Yadier Molina. That's a sailor. Pitch was pretty easy to handle, and it just sails to the left of Johnny Peralta, who was covering.
Swing and a miss by Bruce. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Trying to get inside the head a bit of Cueto and Michael Wacha. If you've got teams that are first ball swinging, it's incumbent upon you as a pitcher to make an adjustment from there and say, okay, I'm not going to throw first pitch fastballs right down central. I'm going to kind of expand my plate a little bit. Try to get you to get yourself out. If you're going to be aggressive, I'm going to use that against you.
Joe West going back behind the plate. He's been around forever. Kerwin Danley at first. Lance Barksdale at second base. DJ Rayburn is at third. You see Colton Wong on the outfield grass. Mentioned last night the struggles that Bruce had against the shift. Peralta is still on the shortstop side of the bag.
Cardinal outfield very shallow for Jay Bruce. With all the power he has, they know the importance of this run in case there is a base hit to try to cut it off at the plate.
The 2-2. Marlon Byrd on deck.
Especially, Dan, John Jay in center field. There's a lot of area between Jay and the center field wall here.
3-2 pitch. Got him. A strikeout of Jay Bruce. Second strikeout for Michael Wacha. And there's 2 outs. Chevy Fox tracks.
Good late movement. Change up. Down and away. It's a hard change up from Wacha, which I think makes it that much more deceptive. You're going to talk about 6, 7, 8 miles an hour off your fastball, but it looks like a fastball, and it's just not there yet. You start your swing. Your timing's off just a tad.
Good curveball there. Marlon Byrd at the plate. He flied to center first time up. The 0-1 pitch. Wacha to Marlon Byrd.
Our good friend Jim Riggleman, the new third base coach for the Cincinnati Reds this year. We talked yesterday about a number of former Cardinal employees. I came up with about 10 looking through their media guide at all different levels, including scouting. And Riggleman, former first base coach under Whitey Herzog with St. Louis.
Advancing Mesoraco from second to third. It was a key play in last night's game with Jordan Walden. Wild pitch that Molina could not corral, and it put Hamilton in scoring position.
More teams are doing this. The minute they see dirt, they take off. They just assume the catcher, even if it's hit right in front of them, is not going to have time to kind of retrieve it and throw the runner out. I think the Cardinals kind of led the way on that.
And a ground ball that's hit to second. Byrd is retired. A key out in the inning, though. The strikeout of Jay Bruce. The second strikeout for Wacha today. We head to the 5th. Birds on top. Guys looking forward to the post-game show. And as Colton Wong leads it off, it'll be Wong, Wacha, and Carpenter. 1 out RBI back in the second inning for Colton Wong. And a base hit to start the 5th. Let's see if the Cardinals want to do a little running here with Kolten Wong. Kids love to cheer on the Cardinals too. Sunday, April 19th, a week from tomorrow. All kids ages 15 and younger entering with a ticket receive their very own Cardinals t-shirt courtesy of Pasta House and Coca-Cola. Buy your tickets today at cardinals.com/promotions.
Kolten Wong with a couple of hits yesterday after a slow start to the season, and 2 good at-bats against Johnny Cueto today. The sacrifice fly, now the base hit to lead off the 5th.
Walker bunts it in the air. Foul ball.
Anytime a ball is popped up in a bunt attempt, people smell out and everybody starts to move towards the ball, but it was just right in the middle of 3 Reds defenders. Walker really catching a break there. Try to bunt the top of the baseball, easier said than done.
One of the best moves in the game is Johnny Cueto. And I'll tell you what, the Cardinals are going to say that he balked, and that's been the biggest complaint with Cueto. He's got a great move. He's got quick feet. But the word is out on Cueto that he balks.
Well, a balk is a judgment call, therefore not reviewable.
And the Cardinals wonder if the tag was there.
Well, one of the things that pitchers are taught to do, and Wong did sense that Cueto was going to the plate, and what you do from a pitcher standpoint is you kind of buckle your leg just a bit.
And that's what he does.
And if you buckle your leg, and that's not anything new in baseball, but if you can do that, especially against a guy who's a threat to steal and may steal anyway, why not try it? And what you're trying to do is deceive the runner into thinking that you're headed home. Just a little bit of a movement with that front leg. You buckle it, then you turn and throw to first, and that's exactly what happened.
Shades of Louis Tiant when you watch Johnny Cueto. Spring of 2010, he was coming off an 11-11 season, and Brian Price, then the pitching coach, now the manager, wanted to work on the mechanics of Johnny Cueto. And what they did was try to close up the front shoulder. They felt he was flying way open. Well, he's such a good athlete that he exaggerated that with the turn of the shoulders. And he said there's 2 keys to it. One, when he decided to do that turn, he had to put his feet at an angle, not to be parallel with the rubber, because it took too much pressure on his knee. The other thing was his chin is tucked inside his left shoulder. So all those things trying to come together to have this unique delivery that not many can duplicate, as you mentioned, because of a lack of control.
Well, the reason pitchers go out of the windup, especially starting pitchers, is it adds deception to your delivery. And he is definitely adding some of that. I'm not sure where that pitch was, but it's not. I think that the common thought would be it adds velocity to go through a full windup. But I think pitchers are looking for any way possible to add some deception to throw off the timing of the hitter. We talk about hitting is all about timing. Pitching is throwing off timing. That's what Cueto is learning to do at another level.
Boy, Carpenter has taken 3 pitches with 2 strikes in this at bat that could have gone either way.
I would tell you, you could do all those things that Cueto's doing to not fly open, and you could still fly open if you come out of your delivery too soon. But he's learned that that's a comfortable way to remind him to stay closed and go straight to the plate.
Three and 2 the count with 2 outs. The next to Matt Carpenter. And he walked him. What an at bat by Matt Carpenter. Historic season for Johnny Cueto last year. Cueto, Danny Jackson, Tom Browning, who had a perfect game, and Jim Merritt. The last 4 Reds with 20 or more wins in a season. But the last to do it prior to Cueto, Danny Jackson. We saw him in St. Louis at the tail end of his career.
I was at Riverfront Stadium for that Tom Browning perfect game. And he didn't have crazy good stuff, but he had great command.
Here's Hayward, who's lined out to right and was robbed by Brandon Phillips. Twice has hit the ball hard. 0 for 2. It's the first walk issued by Johnny Cueto. And the Reds again in the midst of a tight game, just like St. Louis. Their games have been fairly close with the exception of the 3-0 win on the opener Sunday. But the Reds have won all their games in the final at bat to start this season. Last time that's happened was 1912 by Detroit. 1-2 the count.
You know, when you think Cueto, you might think Luis Tiant. When I see Cueto, I think Mario Soto, and the help that he's done in teaching him that changeup. Soto, in my mind, the best changeup I've ever seen, and one of the top pitchers in the game of baseball that people don't talk about very much, Mario Soto. And he's in the Reds organization now, helping out their young pitchers with the art of pitching.
Think about, too, the unique deliveries over the years. And Fernando Valenzuela, your former teammate, Hideo Nomo. It's become a little bit more commonplace now, that hesitation towards the plate. 2-2 the count. But I like what he's done this year, which is the quick pitch. You know, not fully turning to seeing the back of the jersey towards home plate. And it's all about timing and trying to get some type of rhythm as a hitter.
And again, you're throwing off the rhythm with your pitch selection. We call it changing speeds. But if you're changing speeds with your delivery, now you've got that many more combinations to throw the hitter off. And I think of Bob Tewksbury when I think of somebody who maybe changed his delivery a bit. He'd throw that eephus pitch and throw the really slow curveball occasionally.
Carpenter will start with this pitch. 3-2, 2 down as we play in the top of the 5th. 2-1 St. Louis. And it's hit sharply to Phillips. And he makes the play. Luis Tiant. He's got a little of that. Johnny Cueto, 20-game winner a year ago. Cardinals on top midway through 5. Brandon Phillips leads it off and pulls it foul. Phillips, Cozart, Cueto. Talked to Michael Wacha about the stress reaction in his shoulder, which is a rare, very rare injury that pitchers have to deal with. Brandon McCarthy had that, and Michael said that those two reached out to each other and talked about how to come back from it. McCarthy felt that he rushed himself back to an extent, didn't take enough time off, where the real key is trying to build up the muscles around the shoulder and time off. And he had 6 months off, according to Michael, and he said, I feel great. He said, I feel back to where I was.
Well, you talked about how rare it is. That would only kind of lead you to believe that it's not really an exact science right now, at least, how to deal with it. And when is too soon, and how much is too much work. And you also don't want to baby it, so there's kind of the push-pull of that, of you want to kind of make sure that your shoulder muscles don't atrophy, so you want to work them out. Well, is weightlifting good for it or not? Is stretching good for it or not? All those things are a little more unknown, I would think, if it's a rare situation.
Very efficient so far. Pitch number 48. Good breaking ball to Zach Cozart. Single to center field his first time up. Will it stay fair? It does. Just inside the line. Hayward, bare hands, fires into second base. Not in time. The good speed of Cozart as he drops in a double.
We're going to see some runners gunned down at second base with the arm of Jason Hayward, but this ball was not hit hard enough to accomplish that end. It's just kind of a flare down the right field line. Hayward gets to the ball quickly, again has a strong arm in right, but Cozart in scoring position for Johnny Cueto.
Cueto sacrificed back into third. Swinging away that time. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, in an odd way, and I'm normally the first to say, and I said it earlier in this game, you want 2 shots at getting a guy in from second, but if Cueto could get the runner to third with Billy Hamilton up next, he has a lot of potential for infield hits, either bunts or infield hits. So I think there'd be some value for Cincinnati getting the runner from second to third. That's why it's always situational.
One and two. Outfield extremely shallow as they play Cueto to right center. And Waka will underhand to Adams for the out. Advancing Cozart from second to third. Full day of baseball continues tonight on Fox Sports 1. Royals meet the Angels. Coverage starts at 8. Fox Sports 1 streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Reminder will come your way at 11:30 tomorrow. The Cardinals pregame show. It's back home to St. Louis.
Well, Cueto didn't bunt the runner from second to third, but here's that stressful situation as Cozart's able to advance. As an infielder, you know you've got to get rid of the ball in a hurry. You can't play too deep against Billy Hamilton. The bunt is in play.
Slapped foul. The year that Lou Brock stole 118 bases was 1974. That year, in the first 4 games, he was 0 for 1 in stolen base attempts. And Billy Hamilton is off to a 7 for 7 start. Who knows where those numbers may be by the end of the year. It's all about getting on base with him. Chopped to short. Peralta hurries up and makes the play. And Hamilton is hitless in 3 plate appearances today. We head to the 6th. Cardinals on top 2-1. Lineup. Ton of innings last year. Kia in the driver's seat, and Cueto on this list, the only guy that did not pitch in postseason play. But look at all the innings that he put together a year ago.
Bumgarner leading the way with 270, including all those great postseason innings we saw from him with the Giants. But Cueto at 243 plus. That is a good, solid season for Cueto. He's had injuries a couple of times in his career, but clearly he's overcome them and has become a workhorse.
There's Holiday. Goes deep into games, obviously. 2 runs or fewer in 27 of the 34 starts that he made last year. Holiday, little jam shot. That'll drop for a base hit. And a leadoff hit for Holiday to start the 6th. Yadier Molina's 7 Gold Gloves and the 3 Platinum Glove Awards. He has a bobblehead for those. That's coming up. Presented by Central Bank of St. Louis a week from today. The Yadier Molina bobblehead coming up next weekend. Here's Matt Adams, who homered back in the fourth to put the Cardinals on top 2-1. Look at that. Last 3 home runs by Adams, Cueto, Bumgarner, and Kershaw.
Hitting the best.
Well, his home run off of Clayton Kershaw is one you won't soon forget. About a 2-step lead for Holiday at first. The 1-1 pitch. Adams, center field. Hamilton, with his great speed, makes the catch. Holiday back to the bag at first. In steps Peralta, reached on an error in the second and struck out with a check swing in the fourth.
Dan, we've talked about the Reds being off to a good start. The Cardinals 1-2. The Reds have won all 4 of their home games here, but you look at expectations for 2015, you'd still have to say, and clearly a few games don't really change that mindset at all, that the Cardinals are the team to beat in the Central Division, and the Reds were picked by many to become in last place. So it'll be interesting where they are 2 or 3 months from now as a team.
6-4-3 double play as Holiday went in hard at second base to try to break it up. Sports Midwest has your ticket to the festivities. We'll bring you an extended pregame show. All the opening day ceremonies from Busch. Cardinals home opener coverage starts at 1:30 right here on your home of the Birds, Fox Sports Midwest. Matt Garza, Adam Wainwright. First pitch, Votto to second base. A flip by Colton Wong, and Joey Votto is 0 for 3 today, and the pitch count only at 57 for Michael Wacha.
Wacha doing a terrific job this afternoon. Mentioned the Reds are going right after him, but he's not kind of backing down from that. A lot of strikes in those 57 pitches, 43 of them, so a high percentage are strikes, and doesn't have the overpowering strikeout pitch necessarily today, but really not getting to those deep counts really to get the strikeouts.
The 2007 draft, a very good one for Cincinnati. They picked up Todd Frazier, Devin Mesoraco. Frazier was the 34th overall pick. A compensation pick for the loss of Rich Aurelia. Here's a 1-1 from Michael Wacha. Got him to reach on the breaking ball, hit to third. Carpenter is there, 2 down. Four in a row set down by Wacha. Wednesday, an epic international showdown. The U.S. national team takes on Mexico. Americans looking to extend a 4-year unbeaten streak against their historic rivals at the sold-out Alamo Dome in San Antonio. You can see that on Fox Sports 1 Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern. Here's Mesoraco, who's 0 for 2. Left side, Carpenter diving to his left, gets up, the pick by Adams. No, ball gets away. Mesoraco on his way to second base.
It's going to be a tough error on Matt Carpenter, who dives to his left, bounces up quickly to try to throw out Mesoraco. Looked like the ball may have hit off of Mesoraco after. No, it's actually the right leg of Matt Adams. Ball skipped under his glove and went into right field. And that's a tough error for Carpenter, who made a terrific effort on that play.
So base hit, E5, the ruling, and now it extends the inning to Jay Bruce. And what makes this a complicated situation for Michael Wacha, it puts Mesoraco in scoring position. Colton Wong is about 10 to 15 feet on the grass in the outfield. Nothing in 2 the count. It's interesting when you watch teams take infield now, because of all the shifts. Second baseman will take ground balls on the dirt and then go out to where Colton Wong is positioned right here.
Have to get used to that throw.
Also the difference in the grass and if it skips. in the dirt, 1-2.
Important at bat here in this ball game with Jay Bruce, who has potential. 0 for 2 against Wacha so far today, and this is where the starting pitcher really earns his stripes. Wacha has a lot of weapons. Third time through the lineup, you've got something else for Jay Bruce. That's what makes you a top starting pitcher, when you can go through the lineup 3 different times.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that's why you hear all the time that if you're going to be a starter and successful, you better have 3 pitches.
Exactly.
2-2 the count on Jay Bruce.
Bruce has not been able to adjust very well to the changeup of Wacha, which you'd have to think he was at least looking for it there or conscious of it, but he still hasn't been able to see it out of the hand of Wacha. Wacha 6'6", has that high delivery, very deceptive in that regard, throwing downhill. Changeup can be devastating.
Popped him up. John Jay under it. Puts it away for the out. Wacha sharp in 6 innings of work so far this afternoon. 2-1 as we head to the 7th. Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, Mike Helling, our producer, Tom Mee, our director, Brian McCann, Keith O'Brien, and Keith Oberman, his assistant, with us here today.
Like to get a little insurance against Johnny Cueto as we get into the later innings, and I would be surprised. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I would be surprised if we would see Chapman here this afternoon. He's pitched in every Reds game so far, and I'm sure both managers very conscious of the fact that this game is going to be Cueto's and perhaps Diaz as their closer or the late inning guy, which makes this game feel a little bit different as far as I'm concerned.
No doubt. 0-2 the count on John Jay. There's a look at John Mabry, Cardinals hitting coach. By the way, I mentioned our crew that's here, and how could I forget the one and only Jim Hayes?
I'm kind of stunned I didn't pick up on that.
Check swing, and he went, according to Joe West. You know, Joe West had an issue on opening day with Torrey Hunter.
Sure did.
On a check swing.
Or I would say Torrey Hunter had an issue with Joe West.
And Torrey Hunter expected to be fined with his comments, and after the game he just said, look, I wish he would at least ask for help.
And that's something players will yell from the dugout, and they will say on the field in their mild arguments, ask for help. But when you say that in a post-game press conference, you're inviting a higher level of scrutiny. And Torrey Hunter had just had enough, and Twins were not off to a very good start. He's back in his town where he made his name in this game, and I guess he wanted to just fire up the troops a little bit. And he sure did.
2-1 the count on Yadier Molina. Molina a single to right. Also popped out in foul territory. Popped up again near the Cardinals dugout. It is playable. Frazier there. Seth Maness throwing in the Cardinals pen. As Frazier put that away, the Mazda game summary. Michael Wacha 6 innings. Adams a solo home run. Cueto 6 2/3 thus far, and Frazier the solo home run back in the first. Now, as you talk about Cueto and maybe the lack of the fact that Chapman could be available today, innings are something that's very important when you talk about Michael Wacha. The Cardinals are going to be very cautious with pitch counts and innings. They want to keep him healthy for the long run.
And his pitch count is extremely low through 6, just 67 pitches that we've mentioned. But I believe Maness is up right now in case you're a situation. Colton Wong hits a double right now. I think it would be intriguing for Mike Matheny to say we may have to chase this extra run here and maybe use this as a day to save some of those pitches and innings of Waka and take a shot at bringing up a pinch hitter to get that third run across. And normally the pitcher in Maness's case right now, he's told just go along with the game. So if a situation presents itself where we need to pinch hit, you may be in.
Three and two on Walk.
It's very different from the message when the phone rings. Get up, get ready, we need you in a hurry.
Right.
That's when it's a fire drill out in the bullpen.
3-2. Center field. Hamilton, plenty of room. What do you say we stretch on a beautiful afternoon? The Cardinals, the Reds, Todd Frazier battling the sun. Finally, sun in Cincinnati. The Cuban defector will make his major league debut tomorrow. Martinez will make his season debut. Intriguing matchup will come your way at 11:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. Carlos Martinez, only 8 career starts. That's it. He's pitched in 5 games here at this ballpark, 7 1/3, and has allowed just 1 earned run. Mentioned Jim Hayes is with us. He had a nice conversation before the game with Billy Hamilton and Marlon Byrd. We saw some of that video with Hamilton talking about what he did last night, the difference that he made. Oh, 2 the count on Byrd. Well, there's a reason that we have a stoppage in play. When that foul ball, a fan was hit, and Byrd, you could see, was upset by it. He stepped out of the box. Walker stepped away. He's off the mound on the grass, and Joe West has his mask off, and everybody just kind of waiting and just to make sure that hopefully this fan is going to be all right. I did not see it, Rick. Did you?
I did. It was actually on a ricochet and didn't see exactly the fan that it hit, but I could tell that right away there was a lot of panic going on in that little area there. And of course, we always encourage people to have their head on a swivel here at the ballpark, and hopefully that fan is okay. Normally, play doesn't stop. I mean, you recognize that that's can be a difficult thing and a difficult moment, but normally play just goes on. But in this case, the entire fan section just past the Reds dugout is all standing with their backs to home plate, which of course puts them in peril for the next pitch that's going to be thrown, which we've also seen happen. So a lot of people concerned clearly about what's going on there. You see some calls for the personnel here at the ballpark who do a terrific job kind of responding to that. The ushers do, and there are people on duty here obviously to take care of fans that may get injured at the ballpark.
So Waka is throwing. I don't think I've ever seen this where a ball has gone in the seats like this and play is stopped. And I agree with you. More times than not, maybe it's just a step back or two, take a little breather, but not to where play is just stopped like this. Now, is this up to Joe West to get this going again?
I think so, and I think he may have taken some of the cues from Marlon Byrd, who either heard it or kind of sensed it and kind of was a little kind of jarred by it himself, and he stepped out, and maybe everybody kind of wanted a little bit of time, but once the little bit of time became more time, I think everybody now is just kind of hoping for the best for the fan and more kind of focused there than what's going on at the plate. So at some point Joe West is going to have to kind of turn things around and say, let's play ball. Even for Michael Waka on the mound, he certainly is aware, and it's not Marlon Byrd's fault or Michael Waka's fault, but you realize the connection to that you've had, and it's kind of difficult to continue.
Well, if anybody knows about, and I don't know if it hit the fan in the face, just speculating at this point.
Yeah.
But remember, Marlon Byrd was hit in the face a couple years ago, had some shattered bones in the face. You know, I'm just saying maybe it's in the back of his mind a little bit, understanding what that was like going through something like that.
I believe it happened with Brian McCann in a spring training game against the Cardinals. I think Kyle Loesch was pitching, if I recall, and somebody was hit in the dugout seriously, and McCann couldn't finish his at bat.
Right.
He just kind of stood up there, and Loesch didn't want to. I mean, you know, these are people, and they're not just kind of machines playing a game. But Byrd certainly reacted kind of right away, and
here's his reaction to it.
Well, this is becoming really quite a delay right here, and I have not seen this before.
So now Michael Wacha calling out.
First base umpire is actually trying to tell the fans to pay attention right now, which I thought they would have done maybe a little earlier. That's Kerwin Danley. He actually went over to the tarp and said, okay, everybody, I know it's kind of bad news here, but we want you to watch the game because we're going to start. We don't want you to get hit.
Wacha left standing. He took 2 warm-ups just to stay loose in that time period. Here's the 0-2. Off the mound, and there is Colton Wong. Retires Marlon Byrd. And Byrd now down the line looking up at the fans. Scary. So Byrd, the first out here in the home half of the 7th, with the Cardinals leading 2-1.
Cardinals have both Seth Maness and Kevin Segras getting loose. And as the Reds get to the bottom of their order, they have Burke Badenhop, the right-handed reliever, getting loose in their bullpen.
Nice round of applause. You may hear that at home if our microphones are picking that up for the fans down that right field line and the fan that was struck by the baseball. So here is Brandon Phillips, 0 for 2 today. 2 balls, no strikes. Zach Cozart on deck. Three 3-0 the count. Outfield is straight away. They turned Todd Frazier loose on 3-0 back in the first, and he hit a home run. 3-1. Pitch count for Wacha, outstanding. 75 here today.
And 75% strikes in those pitches.
One out walk. Stay warm this spring. You can cheer on the Cardinals Friday when they take on the Cincinnati Reds. 25,000 fans, 16 and older, receive an adult fleece zip-up hooded sweatshirt featuring an 80s throwback logo. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. And that will be it for Michael Wacha. One out walk here in the bottom of the 7th, and his day is through. The Chevy call to the pen will bring us to Seth Maness.
Most of those are sinking variety. Seth Maness, double play specialist, will occasionally throw change-ups. We'll get double plays with that pitch too, but his main deal is to keep that ball down in the strike zone and get guys to hit the ball into the dirt. And he works quickly, as we mentioned. and may have balked right there and gotten away with it.
Ground ball that's pulled foul by Cozart.
Tried to step off the mound and kind of stumbled a bit.
Cozart 2 for 2. Manus induced 16 double plays of the Cardinals in 2013. Matter of fact, he's had 28 combined in 13 and 14. And that is tops among all major league pitchers. That's what he'd love to get right here.
Cardinals did not get the pitch count up for Johnny Cueto, one of our keys to the game. Just 91 pitches through 7 innings, but situationally may end up being out of this ball game with a pinch hitter on deck. Cueto's spot coming up here in the 7th.
Here's an 0-1 pitch. Runner goes, and a foul ball. Phillips not quite the threat he once was to Steele, approaching his mid-30s. Not quite the power threat, but still a solid player.
Pretty gutsy to run in the 7th inning too. Down a run. Have had hard time getting base runners, but this is a team playing with a little bit of confidence out of the chute. I mean, they're kind of just letting it roll right now, aren't they?
They are.
They've played well in the last few innings, their first 4 games, and they're just kind of feeling it. So taking a chance there, and Manus very quick to the plate too.
That's part of the equation. Is I would assume if you would ask Brian Price why start the runner in that situation. And it's because of the numbers I gave you earlier. You know, last 2 years, this guy gets double plays. Carpenter guarding the line. Adams holding it first. Outfield is straight away. The 1-2 instead of check. Brennan Bosch is at the on deck circle. He would hit for Cueto.
Again, that's the beauty of baseball, Dan. What you would do in this situation if you're Brian Price might be drastically different if Kevin Seagrist was on the mound.
Sure.
Instead of Seth Maness. So you can kind of get the numbers of baseball, which have great meaning to all of us, and we love the sabermetric opportunities and possibilities and combinations and permutations that we get from the math people. But when it comes down to it, you have to throw in all the variables of the moment, which include the pitcher, the defense, the score, the weather, that you name it, before you decide what you do as a manager.
2-2. Seth Maness, quite the golfer this Masters weekend out of Pinehurst, North Carolina. He told me that he used to be a groundskeeper at Pinehurst.
And I found out yesterday, and I would say begrudgingly so from Adam Wainwright, that Maness is a better golfer than he is. He said right now.
The 2-2. Runner goes again. So Wainwright actually admitted that someone was better at golf?
Yeah, it was painful. It's a hard conversation.
Did it come out like?
Well, it kind of came out with a little bit of a caveat that kind of the issues that Adam's been dealing with physically in spring training have cut out his golf game and has made it a little worse because he can't play right now.
The caveat, also known as an excuse? That's legitimate,
I
though.
would say it was a competitive reason in his mind.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Phillips leaning towards second base, and now time is called. A little shorter lead, but leaning again, not running, and the pitch is hit into center field. Catch is made. And Phillips back to the bag at first. Cozart is now 2 for 3.
When you have
the tires Fox Tracks.
Yeah, Dan, you have a sinker ball pitcher trying to get the ball down in the zone. As a hitter, you have to look down and somehow make sure you don't just pound it into the ground and try to elevate the ball, which is what Cozart did there. Looks like that'll be it for Seth Maness as the left-handed pinch hitter is announced. And we may see Segrist here.
So Maness gets the one batter that he faces. Kevin Segrist, our Chevy, called to the pen. 2 outs, 1 on when we come back. Segrist to face Brennan Bosch, who spent time with Detroit, the Yankees, and the Angels a year ago. And a fastball taken for a strike.
We saw him with Detroit a couple of years ago. They talked about him maybe being the star of the future. They had great hopes for Bosch, and guy with power, got a sweet left-handed swing, and they've got some power off their bench this year in Cincinnati. And again, a good ballpark to have that.
Led the PCL, the Pacific Coast League, in hitting last year. 332. He was with the Angels AAA affiliate in Salt Lake. Signed by the Reds to a minor league deal with an invitation to Major League spring training camp, and here he is in the first week of the season. Short lead at first. And that's strike 2. Cardinals really have tried during spring training to simplify the mechanics, especially from the stretch, of Kevin Segrist. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
A little surprised that Mike Matheny didn't do a double switch here with Segrist as you're getting close to the top of the lineup and you've got Hamilton and Votto, because that's going to be it for Segrist.
The strikeout of Brennan Bosch. We head to the 8th. Good ball game. 2-1 St. Louis. Studio and a Bomberito Sports Update. Joe Kelly dealing with a biceps strain in spring training and a rough 6 weeks. Fort Myers with the Red Sox, but getting that first start today for Boston. Burt Badenhop is the new pitcher in our Chevy called to the pen for the Cincinnati Reds in relief of Johnny Cueto. Cueto 7 innings, couple of runs, 1 was unearned, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, walked 1, a home run by Adams, and he also hit a man. Here's Randall Grichuk, the pinch hitter for St. Louis. So that'll be it for Segrist, the 3rd of an inning.
Badenhop, one of 4 right-handers in the bullpen for Brian Price. They have 3 left-handers, Parra, Chapman, and Cingrani. Badenhop, first man out today. Cardinals will go with their 4th pitcher in the 8th inning. I would guess it would be the 8th inning specialist, Walden.
Grichuk is saved. Votto off the bag, and that long throw from Zach Cozart. Randall Grichuk homered here last night. He has 4 home runs in the big leagues. 3 of the 4 have been hit against the Cincinnati Reds.
He runs decently too. Grichuk gets down the line, so forces maybe an errant throw here, and just off the bag with the toe is Joey Votto.
They may review this. Brian Price talking now with the first base umpire Kerwin Danley, and it looks like indeed they will take a review. So they'll bring in Joe West, who's the crew chief.
That was a little bit of a hybrid from the old school argument, because he actually went out to talk to him, and you know, as we have talked quite a bit about this year, that they're trying to kind of speed things up a little bit by just having the manager kind of stall a little bit from the dugout. And here's the look at the toe of Votto. Is it on the bag? Hard to tell there. Very close. But Price actually went out to argue that call at first base.
Remember, you have to have enough evidence to where it's conclusive, and you say, okay, we overturn it. And by looking at those two replays, it's very tough to tell. We do have a view of the video board up here, and it looks like Votto's foot is off the bag.
Yeah, and Votto did not really put up much of an argument when it happened. I think he kind of acted like a guy that wasn't on the bag when he caught the ball.
Last year at Memphis, Randal Grichuk did have 8 stolen bases. So he'll stand at first base if the call does stand, and Matt Carpenter will be the hitter here in the top of the 8th, and the Cardinals leading 2-1.
Well, the first Reds error really hurt him. That was Todd Frazier that came in the 2nd inning. It led to the Cardinals' first run of the game, an unearned run. Matt Adams' home run in the 4th inning gave the Cardinals their 2nd run. And maybe the Cardinals, if this call stands, can make this 2nd Reds error hurt as well.
Our attendance today, great crowd, 41,525. 41525.
And Danny, that's great to see here with the crowds we've seen the past couple of years. Again, one more look. So hard to tell when is the ball in the glove, when's the foot off the bag. But I don't think they're going to overturn this one.
And the ruling is safe. So Grichuk is aboard. So the Reds lose their challenge. The call stands. And here is Carpenter, who is grounded out to first. Was robbed by Billy Hamilton in the 3rd and walked in the 5th. And the first pitch is taken for a strike. There was an Achilles heel outside of injuries for the Cincinnati Reds last year. Look towards their bullpen. Chapman had a 2 ERA. Broxton was 1.86. And collectively, still with those two, it was over 4. 2nd worst in the National League. Grichuk tagging up from first but stays put. There's a good strong throw from Billy Hamilton. With 1 out, Jason Hayward will be the hitter. He's had a tough day because he's had 3 hard hit balls. And the diving stop by Phillips, a line out to Jay Bruce, another hard hit ball right at Phillips. So nothing to show for it. Two to 1 St. Louis. The difference in this game, Matt Adams a home run in the 4th. Baiting up a check on Grichuk. Starting pitching in this series has been very good. Last night, Jason Marquis. You were looking through the books of the Reds to see all the former Cardinals. Marquis, the 7th former player that played under Walt Jocketty in St. Louis, that has played for both the Cardinals and the Reds.
Darren Bragg, Eli Marrero, Mark Riggins, Marty Meyer, John Morris, Jim Riggleman, Miguel Cairo, all of those guys with some Cardinal history that goes back to their time with Walt Jocketty. Mike Squires, another assistant to the general manager who worked for the Cardinals for a long time.
Think about the players. It's Scott Rowland. Cairo is here.
Ludwig.
Jim Edmonds at one point. Skip Schumacher currently on their roster. 1-1 the count on Hayward. Bounces it to second. Phillips, that is such a good play. I guess that's why he's in the major leagues. Tough short hop and turns it into 2, 4, 6, 3. adventure at times for Brandon Phillips, huh?
After a rough start, he's turned in a couple of really nifty plays. This was his last play last night to get Carpenter at second base with the help of Zach Cozart. And then that very adept double play that he turned. He got the short hop, the quick flip. Kind of had that struggle early on in the game, but then he polished off the gold that he's got at home and remembered that he's a good fielder, and he's come up with a couple of gems.
You have been in that spot as you get a look at Jordan Walden, or Chevy called to the pen, where you're a reliever, and the night before you may give one up. And you got to sit there and think about it. It's human nature. I know people say, well, you put it behind you, but Jordan Walden back in the fray, if you will, after a tough outing last night.
Yeah, and he's got 94 miles per hour worth of confidence to get back out there on the mound too, which I never had. So I think there is something about a guy who's an eighth inning guy, and he's been a closer before. I think those guys are so confident, Dan, in their stuff that, you know, if they're off a little bit, they still realize that they've got enough to get by, and they're going to just kind of attack the zone and attack the situation, and it'll be no different here this inning with Walden.
And last night it was Hamilton, the leadoff walk in the eighth. This time, Hamilton with a strikeout against Walden. That's big.
And this is the breaking ball from Walden. Off-speed pitch, actually a changeup. Down and away. And Hamilton, if he's got a next level, he's got to learn how to hit the off-speed pitches better.
So first strikeout for Jordan Walden. And it brings in Joey Votto. Cardinals have used Michael Wacha for 6 1/3. I believe that's the longest start the Cardinals have had this year in their games thus far. Manus, 1/3 of an inning. Segrist, 1/3 of an inning. And with Votto due up, Mike Matheny, it looks like, will go to his pen. Randy Choate would be the logical choice here, I'm sure. He has not made the call to the bullpen just yet.
Well, there could be. It seemed like there was a discussion on the mound about how they felt about pitching to Votto, and maybe they were just trying to get Choate ready. And everybody was kind of in stall tactics. So I thought Walden would be out there for the whole eighth, since Segrist did not get double switched for to come out for the eighth. But we will see Choate here against Votto.
Chevy called to the pen last year.
First appearance this year for Choate. It's really not opening day for you until you get to play. And so this is kind of his opening day, and this is a tough assignment here. But it's really the guy that he is on this team to get out. One of the guys. The tough left-handers and the Central Division rivals, and hard to get much tougher than Joey Votto.
Strike one. You could have a situation here just managing along with Mike Matheny that the last out recorded by Wacha was Marlon Byrd on the ground out. Then the walk. Then Manus got Cozart. Segrist gets Bosch. Walden gets Hamilton. Choate could get Votto. And then you'd bring in, you would think, Rosenthal for a 4-out save. Potentially, but it's all for naught. There's your base hit for Joey Votto, and the tying run is on.
Pitch from Choate, kind of just hung up right in the middle of the plate. Down and away, location good, but not sharp on the slider from Votto, who serves it into right field. And we will indeed see Trevor Rosenthal, our Chevy call to the bullpen, when we come back. Victory, and he'll be pitcher number 6 here this afternoon. For St. Louis, he'll face Todd Frazier. Frazier with a couple of hits today, including a home run off of the Cardinals starter Michael Wacha. Frazier also with a base hit in the 4th. And Joey Votto, the runner at first base. Game on the line in an 8th inning that's been very magical for the Reds so far this year.
Rosenthal struck out the side on Sunday. Finished off the Cubs in a 3-0 win. He'll be working exclusively from the stretch this year. The first pitch is taken down. Mike Matheny was saying he's a fan of the stretch period, whether a runner is on or not. He said, I've been asking that question for 20 years. Why don't we just simplify the delivery towards the plate with the stretch? And so that's what Rosenthal, you'll see him do this exclusively this year. Cardinals have been working on it. I alluded to that earlier with Kevin Segrist. You may remember Eric Fornatero, who was with the club. They did that with him last year. We talked about it with David Price this spring. Remember, we did a game and he was doing that, basically working from the stretch. That's a Cy Young Award winner.
As we mentioned, the only thing you get from the windup is a potential deception, but when you're throwing 98 miles an hour, you don't really need a whole lot of that. And it's more important that you throw pitches with command and consistency, and that's really what Trevor Rosenthal is looking for, is consistency.
This spring, and we were down there basically the entire time, Rosenthal expanded his use of a curveball and his changeup.
That's the curveball there, and Frazier, not a good breaking ball hitter. Of course, like any big league hitter, if you hang it, he'll hit it, but if you throw him a good one, you can get him to chase, as he did there.
The 2-2. Trevor comes in well rested and throwing hard. Trevor, the 6th pitcher used by the Cardinals today. Fouled back and a good cut.
I'm sure Mike Matheny will be asked about it, but I wonder if there wasn't a change of mind somewhere when there was a double switch that didn't take place. He could have had Pete Kozma come in to play second base and bat ninth and extended Segrist into the 8th inning. But I think by going one hitter at a time, I think there may have been something that kind of altered the decision making that he saw from Walden. He ended up using Choate to face Joey Votto. He kind of served a base hit to right. Now it's up to Trevor Rosenthal.
Frazier homered on a 3-0 pitch in the first off a walk-up. Single to left in the 4th, grounded out to 3rd in the 6th. The Reds have turned 2 double plays in this game. Cardinals searching for their first. The 2-2. And a wild pitch.
This ball gets away, and the thing you worry about emotionally in this inning as it hits off the right arm of Yadier Molina is this a Reds team that has owned the 8th inning this week. High emotion here yesterday behind Billy Hamilton and others, and I think they're expecting something good to happen right now. So are the fans here at the ballpark.
41,000 plus. Ground ball hit to the right side. 2 down. Votto advances to 3rd.
And by the way, Dan, nice to see a big crowd here at Great American Ballpark. Last year, you and I did a number of games here where, honestly, just sad to see kind of the down nature of the franchise here. And you hope for that in every park we go to on the road. You want interest, you want excitement, you want home time excitement. We know we're going to get it in St. Louis. Can't wait for that first week at home.
It's going to be fun. Mesoraco singled back in the 6th. He struck out, hit into a fielder's choice. Good cut, fouled it back. Both catchers off to slow starts offensively in this first week. 0-2 the count. Votto the tying run at third. What a play there by Molina to keep it in front.
And gutsy, too, for him to even call that, knowing that he bounced one earlier. That's the changeup. He just pulls it into the ground, and boy, maybe 3 or 4 inches inside that last one that hit off his right arm and went back to the screen.
Mesoraco is 2 for 3 off of Rosenthal in his career. One of those hits being a double. Ground ball hit to short. Peralta makes the play. The stretch by Adams. Rosenthal out of the jam. Sends us to the ninth. St. Louis on top 2-1. St. Louis leading 2-1. Both games last night, this ball game, it's been entertaining, and the series history in early games, March and April since 2011, Cardinals have had their way with the Reds to an extent. 5 better in the matchups as Matt pops it up behind home plate. Mesoraco gives it a look, and it's out of play. You know, both managers will be questioned in this game, regardless of how it turns out. But you had Bosch staying in the game to face Segrist, so lefty-lefty. Mike Matheny could have kept Segrist in with a double switch. Then you would have had Billy Hamilton, the switch hitter, turn him around, and then you still had him available for Votto. It's interesting. Shift was on here for Holiday. Votto to Badenov.
Boy, that's a nice play all the way around. They've got the big shift on, so there's nobody over there except for Votto to make this play. And Holiday, who hits that hole pretty well, has got to try to outrun Badenhop. Pretty close play at the bag, but nicely done by the Reds defensively. Well, Dan, all those decisions, and as the year unfolds and we talk about opportunities and how you can use your team, and of course they'll use their personnel differently at different points in the season, depending upon, you know, I think early on you're trying to get people into ball games. That's one thing that's on the mind of both managers here. But you know, I think it's what makes this game so much fun to watch. I mean, people complain about the pace of the game in some ways, but I think the pace allows you to think through why our team's doing what they're doing, and I think that's part of the fun of it.
Randy
There's more than one way to do it.
You know, well, you go back, let's say you go back to Rosenthal, and if you wanted to make it more than an inning save, you could. And I'm sure that's part of the equation for Mike Matheny, saying, look, if I need to go one-on-one to get to that point with Trevor Rosenthal, I'm okay doing it because he hasn't pitched since Sunday, and it's the beginning of the season. So he's going to be extended in this game. You knew that going in making these decisions.
And the Reds, on the other hand, have to use their bullpen differently, which includes using their bench differently because they may be a little shorter. Well, they're definitely shorter as far as not having Chapman, presumably, today, who's pitched in every one of their games.
Adams off the glove of Phillips and into right as he beats the shift. 2-hit day for Matt Adams. Johnny Peralta will be the hitter. The Cardinals will pinch run with Peter Borges for Adams.
Phillips has made some nice plays today. If he'd have made this play, that would have really been something. Playing deep second base, diving to his left. Boy, that one extra run would be nice.
Sure would. Towards the tail end of spring training, we saw Borges start to pick it up in terms of just the stolen base attempts. And right now, you'd have to say, Rick, that's a primary role for him to come off the bench. You know, Jay and Grichuk are ahead of him in terms of playing time. You've got Holiday. You've got Hayward. So Borges, more of his role is to come in, steal a base, play defense.
And that's what he's in here to do right now, and you got to go. I mean, I don't think you can wait very long if you're Peter Borges, maybe a pitch or two, but I mean, I think stolen bases is the reason he's out there right now. And if you're thrown out, you're thrown out. But you've got to try to get into scoring position.
Pitch out. None doing.
Now you do it.
Badenhop's a big guy. Reds have talked about that he's not overly quick to the plate. Slightly bigger lead. There he goes. Borges. Mesoraco not in time. And Peter has a stolen base. His second this year.
There's a good jump from Borges following a pitch out. You know they're not going to pitch out twice in a row. And I haven't said it yet this year, Dan. I say it every year. Might as well get it out of the way. I'm not a big fan of pitch outs in general. Because what it does is put you behind against the hitter. Borges steals the base anyway, but now you're 3-0 because you're working from behind against Johnny Peralta, and you've just kind of put yourself in a situation of being behind the right-handed batter who you'd rather pitch to than a lefty on deck in John Jay.
Sure. 3 balls, 1 strike with a runner at second. 2-1 Cardinals. Peralta with a base hit out to left. Borges will score. There's the insurance as Johnny Peralta comes through. 3-1 St. Louis.
Well, I think I can make the case that the pitch out didn't really help the Reds in that inning and hurt them, in fact, by putting them behind Johnny Peralta, who delivers with that base hit down the line. He had a double down the line yesterday, and Peralta with another big hit here in the 9th inning to give the Cardinals some breathing room. And the stolen base by Borges, extremely important.
Now John Jay. Jay was hit by a pitch in the 2nd inning, flied out to right, and struck out on a check swing in the 7th. Outfield is straight away. Big base hit there by Peralta. Jay, base hit into right. Peralta stops at second with the throwing arm of Jay Bruce. Activity right now in the Cincinnati pen.
This is Jeff Pico, the pitching coach.
Manny Parra is throwing in the pen. Colton Wong is on deck, so that lefty-lefty matchup looms. Potentially big.
John Jay can just flat out hit, can he? Good balance. He's not way out in front. He's got a very solid base. Rolled over that one a little bit, pulled it into the right side of the infield, found a hole. Just flat out hit.
Been a career 300 hitter in the major leagues. Runners at first and second for Yadier Molina. Jammed, popped up. Mesoraco will give it a look. And it's 4 rows deep.
Yadi's really just caught in between right now with his timing. He's either late or he's early on his swings. He's trying to kind of ramp up his swing and get it started early. And a couple of fastballs were thrown past him last night. And he's a little late on that one, getting jammed. He was out ahead of one early on. It's just kind of in between. Just a matter of getting his timing right.
Molina hits it up the middle. That's a base hit. Here comes Peralta. They'll wave him in. Throw by Hamilton is not in time. Peralta avoids the tag. And it's 4-1 St. Louis.
So many things done well on that play, beginning with Yadier Molina driving it up the middle. Happy Cardinal dugout right now as the runner Peralta gets a good jump. Oquendo waving him home. And there's the good slide to the outside of home plate. The strong throw from center up the line just enough so the catcher Mesoraco couldn't get the tag on Johnny Peralta. And I think Brian Price wanting to make sure that Peralta did not go too far out of the line there for home plate. Maybe arguing that slide a bit.
My question then to you would be, where's he supposed to go?
I think it's okay for him to go there.
You know, the players talk about it. There's still the chance of collisions in the game of baseball, and you could have had one there as Badenhop is through. And Manny Parra, who's been getting loose in the pen, will come in. And that'll be our Chevy call to the pen. Manny Parra will face Colton Wong. It's a 2-hit day for Yadier Molina as he picks up his first RBI of the season. And wouldn't you know, Joe West right in the middle of it all. Consecutive hits here in the top of the ninth for St. Louis, and another look at that slide by Peralta.
There's the catcher Mesoraco up the line, certainly blocking the plate a little bit. You can't really say anything wrong about the slide. In fact, a lot of positives as you see the avoidance there. Does he touch him or not? Hard to tell from that angle, but Peralta was able to get the outside of the plate. Perfect slide, and Manny Parra comes in perhaps a bit too late.
Runners at the corners, still only one out. Here's Colton Wong. Cueto, Badenhop, and now Manny Parra. Inning started with a harmless ground ball by Holiday for an out. Wong bunts it in the air. Everybody back to their bags at first and third. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals did have Mark Reynolds, the on-deck circle. Rosenthal, though, will hit for himself, the former college shortstop. A dream come true for a closer, a chance to hit.
I think what John Jay was trying to do right there was a safety squeeze in a way. Just get the bunt down, and that would score the run. You've got speed on third base. It's actually Colton Wong at the plate, but you've got the speed of John Jay at third.
And a strikeout of Trevor Rosenthal. So Parra comes in to get the final two outs in the top of the ninth. Rosenthal will try to finish off game two of this series. Bruce, Bird, Phillips coming up. Trevor Rosenthal still in the ball game. Rosenthal got the final two outs at the bottom of the eighth. Frazier grounded out to second. Mesoraco grounded out to short. That's what Bruce, Bird, and Phillips have done against the Cardinals closer. Bruce hitless in 3 plate appearances today. Strikeout twice, is flied out to center, and he shows bunt. Strike one. The Cardinals have used Waka, Manus, Segrist, Walden, Choate, and now Rosenthal.
Good start so far for the Cardinals bullpen. 7 2/3 innings combined in the early going, and they've given up just 1 hit collectively. And that was the base hit by Votto that came in the 8th inning. Walden gave up a run yesterday in the 8th inning, but it was without the benefit of a hit.
Strikeout of Jay Bruce to start the bottom of the ninth. just get the feeling that this season may be the kind of year that the Cardinals offensively just grind through a lot of games. It looks like the pitching is going to be better than many of the teams in Major League Baseball if healthy. It looks really good. But the offense, it may be one of those things where you just kind of grind through the year.
And I think grinding is fun. I think that makes for a lot of close games, and it makes for a lot of important situations. And the Cardinals are going to have to find a way to kind of pull things together offensively to bunch their hits. You know, the Cardinals had scored just 7 runs in their first 3 games of the season, but had 5 guys hitting 300.
Marlon Byrd into left. 2 down. Let's turn to our player of the game. As always, a presentation of Budweiser. Michael Wacha pitching into the 7th, 5 hits, pitch count very efficient. 1 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, only 76 pitches in the afternoon.
And a tough draw for him today. Johnny Cueto, a red hot team, one of the best pitchers in baseball, and the Cardinals 1 out away from beating Mr. Cueto.
Brandon Phillips, the final hope, with 2 outs. Cardinals picked up a run in the 2nd, another in the 4th, and a Matt Adams home run, and 2 moments ago to pad their lead in the top of the 9th, lead it 4-1. Martinez Iglesias making his Major League debut tomorrow. Will come your way 11:30 St. Louis time. We've had 2 really entertaining games in this series here in Cincinnati. And the Reds are down to their final strike. The 1-2 to Phillips. Got him. Reds have their first loss of the year. Cardinals back to 500 at 2-2. And the rubber game tomorrow afternoon, and you'll see it right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
Cardinals managing 4 runs on 8 hits today, but it was still all about the pitching. Rosenthal closes it out for save number 2, and Michael Wacha, a terrific performance, 6+